And it's going very, very well.
Brilliant, brilliant. Yeah, and I know Declan Kearney is speaking. He's chairing one of the fringe events taking place later on today. There are a few different fringe events happening as part of the Ard Fheis, and one of them is about a book. Just you mentioned the kind of engagement of Protestant communities in this discussion on a United Ireland.
Yeah, we have Claire Mitchell doing a talk on her book, The Ghost Limb, and we'll be Kieran and Ish Marta.
Yeah.
Declan Kearney.
Lovely. Gurmila Jerry.
Moihu.
About Ireland's future. The ground is shifting. Political aspirations and expectations are changing. And the new momentum for Irish unity is a product of these realignments. Significant new voices from within the diversity of Protestant and Unionist identities are now discussing constitutional change. And understanding and engaging with Protestant identities and culture is one of the most important conversations which needs to occur as we manage this change. And those from Protestant or civic unionist backgrounds do not constitute a monolith. Republicans carry a major responsibility to engage with Protestants and Unionists to better understand their current concerns. And those concerns are real. For many, these have been caused by hurt resulting from past IRA actions. And today they may also be influenced by reservations about the growth and the popularity of Sinn Féin across this island. The future of Ireland is in the melting pot, so we should start to liberate our thinking, to challenge old assumptions. And Sinn Féin's Commission on the Future of Ireland is based on the principle that everyone should have their say in this conversation. We believe that Irish unity is the best democratic option, but Republicans don't have all the answers. We have to get constitutional change right. Our political landscape is complicated due to the legacy of colonialism and sectarian segregation in the north. Sectarianism in Ireland didn't start with partition, but partition institutionalised it. And while the issue of national democracy remains unresolved, then sectarianism in Ireland and in the north will thrive. Segregation, particularly in housing and education, reflect the structural reality of sectarianism in the north. And the failure to implement the Good Friday Agreement and its Bill of Rights is at the heart of that intractability. But more of the same, Acharja, is not good enough. And our new policy document, A New Ireland for All, seeks a step change, which is being presented to this Ard Fheis this morning. And it sets out outstanding challenges to end sectarian segregation and tackle sectarian attitudes, and to achieve reconciliation within the context of constitutional and political change. Eradicating sectarian segregation and breaking the cycle of sectarianism need to be embedded within all public policy processes, and these should be future-proofed. Ending sectarianism is inseparable from building for the future. Anti-sectarianism should be hardwired into all public policy development. And that means the function of government institutions in the north and on a north-south basis should be repurposed to deliver on that outcome. 25 years after the Good Friday Agreement, comrades, it is time to open up the next phase of our peace process. And we are clear. Power sharing must be restored. Democracy and election results in the north of Ireland must be respected. Our challenge is to make the political process work and to plan for the next 25 years, to achieve and win a unity referendum in this decade, to tackle sectarianism and achieve reconciliation. Acharja, national reconciliation and national reunification are indivisible. That is the Wolfe Tone way. And we may never agree on the past, but we can try to agree on the future through an inclusive process of planning to shape a new constitutional settlement which guarantees rights, respect and equality for all. The democratic logic for managing change is now inescapable. And that's why this Irish Government should begin to plan and prepare for the transition to unity. And those who will govern Britain in the future, they should start to do the same. The moment has indeed arrived to establish a citizens' assembly on reunification. And if political unionism has a positive vision to share, it should do so. It cannot, however, be allowed to veto progress as the majority looks towards a new Ireland for all. Partition belongs to the past. It has failed us all. Self-determination and unity referenda, north and south, is in the national interest. To open a truly democratic debate about our collective future on this island, which addresses the economic and the social priorities of workers and families in the 26 counties, shapes an all-island economic model which serves the needs of the many, not the few, and for the first time, an opportunity to design a citizen-centred, rights-based republic which celebrates our national diversity. Comrades and friends, we are for a future which is positive and progressive. A Charge, Sinn Féin is for a united Ireland for all. Go raibh maith agaibh.
Ajahn Maya Corja, Fintan Warfield speaking, Dublin Sinn Féin speaking in favour of motion 96. Certainly the responsibility for planning and preparing for Irish unity rests with the Dublin Government, and such things like the cost of unity, the future of the health service, pensions, public services, taxation and governance, and indeed the all-important place of unionists in a new Ireland should be discussed at a citizens' assembly. However, there is work that can and should be undertaken in Brussels. In 2017, the European Council acknowledged two things: that the Good Friday Agreement provides the mechanism through which a united Ireland will be brought about, and significantly, that the entire territory of a new united Ireland will become part of the European Union. The excellent reports by Professor Colin Harvey and Mark Bassett outline the work that can and should be undertaken in Brussels, and the European Parliament, who should explicitly endorse the European Council statements from 2017. Irish unity offers the only pathway back to EU membership for people in the north of Ireland, but the work on things like transitional arrangements is completely underexplored. We need to use every avenue, every site of struggle to unite our country and to get this over the line. And today, as I'm in Athlone, I'm reminded, not far from here, about 30 kilometres in Mount Dalton, a man by the name of Leo Keegan Casey was born. He was the poet of the Fenians, and he wrote that we will follow in their footsteps at the rising of the moon. Gur Maith.
Declan Kearns, Joe MacDonald, Common, Dublin 15, local election candidate for the Unger LEA. I commend and support motion 100. Sports and voluntary groups are a core part of our communities, bringing young people together and giving them a sense of ownership and pride in the place they live. Clubs like Hartstown, Huntstown FC and Nave Peregrines GA Club are brilliant stepping stones for our young to make friends, keep active and ingrain themselves in their locality. We need to be conscious that there is a monetary supplement in the sports clubs, so we should support the introduction of a leisure card for young children to engage in sport, art, dance, music or whatever they wish, We should give all children the same opportunities, that they will nourish them and make them part of their community, which they will grow to love and respect. Please support motion 100.
Paul Boggs, Jim McGinn Cummins, Strabane Colacanter, speaking in support of motions 96 and 99. Akarja, each week we see young people leaving this island. The best of Ireland's talent is finding it impossible to stay here. With housing through the roof, limited job prospects and decimating public services, it is imperative that we build a better future to ensure young people can stay here, live here and thrive here. A new Ireland would give us the opportunity to create a better future for all who call this place home. Irish unity enables us to design something better for everyone and would allow young people to stay here without having to consider leaving to search for a better life. A new Ireland would give those who have already left the opportunity to come home. It has been fantastic to see the work of the party in recent times in relation to the Irish Unity campaign. In particular, I have attended events organised by our Commission on the Future of Ireland, and it's been fantastic to hear from people from all walks of life having their say. In our local council, we have established an official Irish Unity working group, and one of our first initiatives was to carry out a consultation process with local residents on the issue of Irish unity. There were over 250 responses to this, and many of them from young people. We now have a work plan in place to follow up on the feedback from that consultation. Derry City and Strabane District Council is the first council in Ireland to do this in the absence of the Irish Government establishing a proper All-Ireland Citizen Assembly. I would encourage all our councillors here today to do the same and ensure Irish unity is firmly on the agenda at local council level. Akarja, planning is key to making Irish unity a success for every person on this island, no matter how they identify. The Irish Government cannot shy away from this any longer. They must establish a Citizens' Assembly in Irish unity and plan for our future together. The end game of partition is now being played out. Let's all put our shoulder to the wheel and make it happen. Go raibh míle maith agat.
I was actually asking them not to make it very obvious that I'm shorter than everybody else, but I don't know, I clearly annoyed somebody. Mairead Farrell, Cummins, Mulvoy, Campbell, McGurr, Iglaurich, Son, Roon, Cade, Isahain. Achorja, we live in changing times. The momentum for Irish unity is growing, and it continues to grow and grow and grow as people see the opportunity that lies before us. Agus Achorja, partition has failed. Partition has failed all of the people. Not only did it do so in the past, but it continues to do so today. Partition has stymied our economic progress. It has held us back as a nation, and therefore it has clearly run its course. As Uniting Irelanders, we have an incredible opportunity before us, and we must realise that opportunity. We have the opportunity to create a new Ireland, an Ireland based on equality, on need rather than greed, an Ireland that classes housing as homes rather than a speculative asset, an Ireland that delivers a real Irish National Health Service so that your healthcare isn't based on what part of this island that you live in. And the people are wise to the opportunities that lie before us. And the Irish Government is once again behind the people on this issue. The conversation on a new Ireland and the conversation of a shape of a new Ireland is already taking place. It's happening in our kitchens, it's happening in our workplaces, and it's happening across our communities. And the Irish Government must play its part in preparing a referendum on Irish unity, as the time for Irish unity and the time for that conversation is now. They must establish a citizens' assembly to prepare for a referendum on Irish unity. And my message from this Ardesh to the Irish Government is that the moment for Irish unity is now. It is unstoppable, and they must catch up with the people. And I want to commend the fantastic work that is being done by the Commission on the Future of Ireland, because they really are doing incredible work. They're bringing people together, they're preparing for Irish unification, and they are very clear that everybody's voice needs to be heard, and that is why their work is so important. Aga córja, ag an caiiciise by Chinol an sa chearrua an grompán, agus by Dina ó chulichantar in Gáile ag teachla chéile agus ag play afís go tauchaí na héireann go éire a aontaithe. So MP Murray ver fad seachtlinn agus bílinn an 7 go mína saona agus 7 chlog sa grompán ar an garrua. Gur míle mágaí.
Acardja, Cuan Young, Bob Smith, Patrick Doyle, Dundrum Common, Ballia Clare. I want to speak in favour of Motion 100 on club sports. Club sports are the bedrock of working class communities across the country. For too long, under successive Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael governments, they have been neglected and left to die off. These clubs have only survived with the leadership of our communities and without the help from our government. Only a Sinn Féin government, partnered with Sinn Féin-led councils, will reverse this trend. We will rebuild the community bonds which have been bruised by this government. We will deliver leadership where it has been lacking and deliver the resources these clubs need. In my own area, clubs such as Rosemount Mulvey, Broadford Rovers and Ballantyre St John's have had to fight for their survival. The development of a sports facilities strategy is the first step in revitalising struggling clubs across the country. Only under Sinn Féin will community bonds be rebuilt. Only under Sinn Féin will clubs reach their full potential. And so I would ask this Ardesh supports Motion 100. Gur míle maith agam.
G.E. Acardja. My name is Declan Kearney and I'm from the Hearst McManus Common in Longford Town, and I'm also an election candidate for Sinn Féin in the upcoming 2024 elections within this constituency of Longford Westmeath for the Longford LEA. I'm speaking in favour of Motion 97, where the first couple of lines recognises the role played by young people of Ireland in our struggle for Irish unity and independence. Young people have always been the backbone of our communities. The ever-growing list of consecutive failures of governments at local and national level are driving young people from our shores. Over 30,000 Irish people emigrated in the 12 months from April 2022 to April 2023, one of the highest figures in recent years. Leaving Ireland in hopes of a better future, leaving Ireland in hoping to own a home, hoping for better healthcare, hoping for better employment opportunities. A recent study showed that more than 70% of young people aged 18 to 24 are considering emigrating. Ireland has a number of world-class, third-level education institutions, including the campus we are on right now. The government parties are sitting back, watching our young people go through years of studying and hard work to become qualified in their chosen field, only to find out upon graduation that they can't afford to live in their own country. Their degrees and qualifications are then used in America, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, England, Scotland and many more countries across the globe. Some may have you believe that these people have forgotten about Ireland and they never want to come home, but that simply isn't true. We have seen numerous times that literally thousands of Irish coming back to vote in elections and referenda because they want to see change in their country, and they haven't lost hope for that change. They haven't forgot about Ireland, and the Irish people haven't forgot about them. Sinn Féin hasn't forgot about them. We will provide an Ireland where people can own a home, have sufficient healthcare, get a job in their local area, raise a family and contribute back into that Ireland that has facilitated this for them. That Ireland, Acardja, is a united Ireland, and we are well and truly on our way. Gur míle maith agam.
It's a long old journey when you're hobbling. How's it going? It's Misha Daisy O'Brien from the County Wicklow, Corla Cantor, here to speak in favour of Motion 101. And what I want to do is just pay tribute to the work of the Sinn Féin Commission on the Future of Ireland. And in particular, I'd love to zoom in on the work that's been done with young people. And I'm not just talking about work that invites young Shinners into a room to talk about the future, or young politicals into a room to talk about the future. I'm talking about an invitation that asks young people who are curious, interested, and wondering about the future of Ireland. And the Commission is bringing them into spaces and saying, what do you think? What do you believe? And I think that's really valuable and really important. And what we find, and I've had the privilege of being in a room in the Dublin Youth Assembly, and what we find is that young people are demanding to be co-architects of the future of this island. And this party is inviting them to be a part of that. And if we continue that momentum, then we're doing the right stuff to really put things in place for a future that includes all, a future that gives everyone the opportunity to flourish. So I want to express my gratitude to the team in the Commission. It wouldn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen just because we want it to happen. It happens because there's people in the background putting real hard graft in. And the last thing I'd say is that I invite people from all areas to connect with the Commission. They've learned a lot from the work that they've done. They've got some techniques, some methods, some ideas about how to bring people into spaces and have conversations. The more of them that happen, the closer we are to doing the right stuff when it comes to unity. So I invite you to support motion 101. Thank you.
Ishmisha Cathy Mason, MLA for South Down, 6th County spokesperson for tourism, and Betsy Gray Common, speaking in support of motion 96. Acharja, tourism north and south is a key driver in our economy. It is clear that we need to create greater parity across the island in terms of tourism spend and visitor numbers, that this still remains a challenge. The tourism sector in the north continues to lag behind the south in terms of visitor numbers and revenue raised. In 2021, Sinn Féin launched its Explore More policy document, which called for the north to be included in the successful Fáilte Ireland marketing scheme, bringing Derry and the Causeway Coast into the Wild Atlantic Way, Fermanagh and Tyrone into the Hidden Heartlands, and of course South Down and the breathtaking Lecale coastline into Ireland's ancient east would be a game changer for hoteliers, B&Bs and other businesses right across these counties. We need to make the British Government scrap the onerous European travel authorisation that has been implemented as a result of the disaster that is Brexit. This ETA scheme is hugely detrimental to the tourism industry and will mean that Border Force have the ability to stop tour buses travelling from the south into the north in order to check visas and ID. This is not acceptable. It is clear that a new and united Ireland would deliver great benefits for tourism. Unity brings with it a return to the EU and a freedom of movement that would take the north out of these ETA arrangements and enable more EU workers to come and work in the tourism sector. The added burden of partition and how it impacts tourism can also be seen by the fact that the north is unable to set its own VAT rates and have the power it needs over taxation. Rather than synchronising the VAT rate across the island, tourism businesses in the north continue to pay 20% VAT, while their counterparts in the south pay 13.5%. This again puts the north at a disadvantage and subjects businesses to higher overheads. Sinn Féin not only recognises the problem, but has brought forward solutions for the tourism industry. In the time ahead, I, along with my counterpart, Imelda Munster TD, will continue to highlight the benefits that All-Ireland cooperation and Irish unity has for tourism and the wider economy. Gurmila Milgav.
Chris Andrews, Smith Farrell, Griffith Common, Ringsend and Pearse Street, and I'm speaking in support of motion 100. Accordia sport and recreation services are facing immense pressure affecting children, parents and the providers. Decades of neglect by government has had a harsh impact on sport and recreation. We see the realities of that neglect every single day. The erosion of social cohesion, increasing child obesity and children's participation increasing at a snail's pace. We are seeing it having a disproportionately negative impact on working class communities who are already struggling with cost of living crisis. And this, of course, is leading to further levels of inequality in Irish society. Sport and recreation must play a crucial role in a united Ireland. A united Ireland where children are not held back by inequalities. And I firmly believe that with our vision and commitment to building a stronger and more just society, we can radically transform sport and recreation to ensure that sporting community is given the support it so rightly deserves. Please support motion 100.
My name is Sam Brooks and I'm representing Ógra Sinn Féin. I'm speaking to you in support of motion 97. This country's young people are being driven out. For many of us, we simply have no choice, particularly for those looking to enter the civil and public services. Our newly qualified nurses, doctors and teachers are fleeing to countries like Australia, where they will have better wages and a better quality of life. You have to realise just how desperate most people have to be to pack up and go to Australia. Cost of living, no work-life balance, poor wages, the housing crisis and many other issues are causing this outburst of immigration. 68% of young adults still live with their parents in this country, well above the EU average. You must remember that these are qualified young professionals who went to college with the promise that this would somehow get them ahead in the job market. We were lied to. What jobs do exist suffer the same previously mentioned problems of being overworked and underpaid. This is a stark shift from last century, where young people contribute passionately to our independence and where young people could live and work in the country they love. Irish unity is the only way that we can get the changes we need to be able to justify living in this country. However, this must be accompanied by a radical overhaul of our public services and economy. We must take the best of both from both administrations on this island, and we need to ensure that there is a fully universal healthcare system. We must provide a solid housing for all approach to ensure that we see less people sleeping on our streets, and we must revitalise our economy and ensure that newly qualified professionals can afford to live and work in a new united Ireland for all. The time for a united Ireland is now. This country's young people, both at home and abroad, will proudly support that fight, as we did every single time we fought for our independence over the last 1,000 years. Gura míle maith agad.
Martin Kenny, Leitrim Corley Cantor, in support of motion 96 from the Ard Corla. The Good Friday Agreement was signed over 25 years ago, and it set out a democratic process in which we could achieve Irish unity through referendums north and south. And since then, the absence of conflict and the development of institutions across the north, we have seen a new space develop, where more and more people are recognising the good sense of Irish unification, and that Irish unity is the way forward, and support for unity referendums is growing not just across Ireland but across Europe and North America and other places as well. Civic groups have come together and have recognised that Irish unity is the way forward for all of our people, that as a new Ireland is something that can happen and will happen very shortly. Of course, we have our difficulties in the north as well. The Assembly is down at the moment, and much of that dysfunction is due to a legacy, the legacy of colonialism, unfortunately. And yet we see change happening. Recently, in my own area, I was contacted by a person who had He told me he had come from a traditionally unionist background. His family had been in the Orange Order and the Black Preceptory and all of that, but he had travelled around the world and worked in other countries. And now he is back and living in the south and wants to talk about joining Sinn Féin because he recognises that the way forward for all of the people on this island is for the unification of the island. We also, of course, recognise that there has been an awful lot of research done by various academics and other groups that puts forward the case that not just is Irish unity better for the people in a solidarity sense and in a sense of community and unity in that sense, but also from an economic perspective, that Irish unity makes sense in every way we can possibly look at it. The Shared Island initiative by the Taoiseach and by the Dublin government is progress, and we welcome that. I want to see that happen. And indeed, sometimes I think, much in the media talk about Sinn Féin, and they're watching the Ard Fheis this weekend, about us jockeying our positions to see can we align with others. I recognise that the two smaller Conservative parties in this state are often jockeying their positions to see how they can align with a larger party who's about to take government here with Sinn Féin. In the last week I was at an event in Leinster House that was chaired by Francis Black about Palestine, and it was very interesting to see a whole range of Fianna Fáil politicians come into that event and talked about their undying support for Palestine. I had to double check myself, where did this come from? But they recognise where the people are, and that's where they move to. They talk about populism. They are the ultimate populists in respect of all of these issues. As we move toward Irish unity, we recognise that many are changing their positions. Many are looking at it differently. Many are trying to see what we can do. And one of the key things that the Dublin government and the British government and everyone else has to do is to start that conversation in a real way. They have an obligation to do so. And that's why a Citizens' Assembly and Irish unity is so vitally important to try and bring that about. We have to make it happen. Of course, we also recognise that the European Union has a major role in respect of that, and they, in fairness, have acknowledged this. When a unity referendum comes in Ireland, it will not just be a referendum on unity, but for the people of the North, it will be a referendum on their accession back into the European Union, where they can have a stable and united economy. So, Sinn Féin will be the political party in government North and South that will organise those referendums. Sinn Féin will be the political party in government North and South that will bring about the unity of our people and the unity of our country. So support motion 96 and all of the other motions in this section, and do everything in our power to drive home the message that New Ireland is before us, and all we need to do is reach out and make sure that it happens. Go míle maith.
A Horja. Is mise Emma McCardle as Crushvic Linen, agus Bawailam Lorch chun le tacu le run ní as a sé. The Good Friday Agreement is 25 years old this year. The agreement brought to an end decades of war on our island. It made the union with Britain conditional for the first time ever on the will of the people, and it gave us a path to follow towards reunification. People in this room know only too well the sacrifices made and the huge efforts by Republicans and others in the decades prior to the agreement. And Irish martyrs will never be forgotten. And just as we commemorate our dead, those of other persuasions have the right to do so as well. Because at the core of the new united Ireland must be equality. It was central to the Good Friday Agreement, and it must be the word upon which the foundations of the new republic are built. And with this in mind, the message from this Ard Fheis to Leo Varadkar, Micheál Martin, Keir Starmer and Steve Baker, and all those who undermine the Good Friday Agreement, saying the referendum will need a supermajority or that there's not even a remote possibility of it on the political horizon, our message is that a vote for Irish unity is every bit as important and valid as a vote to maintain the union with Britain. The democratic threshold is 50% plus one. There will be a referendum in our time, and it will be won. And it won't just be a win for Republicans, it'll be a win for every person on this island. The new republic which follows will be a warm house for all, regardless of cultural background, political opinion, social status or personal wealth. That is the republic we seek to build. And to make sure we build the true republic of Tone and Connolly, we need to talk to people who are unsure of what they want for the future, and those who don't want Irish unity. Understanding and engaging Protestant identities and culture is one of the most important discussions as we look to the future and to potential constitutional change. Comrades, with this in mind, a very special and unique fringe event will take place at 1 o'clock, which will explore the recently published book, The Ghost Limb, Alternative Protestants and the Spirit of 1798. Claire Mitchell, the book's author, will be in conversation with Declan Kearney. I urge you, comrades, to come along to the fringe meeting and learn more about the layered and complex Protestant section of our community. Gora Míle Maith Agah.
Carja, Ismisha and Corleor Ifani and again as Crush Viclinin August Bawailam Lurch Hun Taku Laroon Cage Isahan. Carja. This is the era of Irish unity, the time to end partition and British rule in our country forever is now. For far too long, the people of Ireland have suffered because of British government policy on our island. It is true that the North bears the brunt of bad British decisions. Historically, this has meant sectarianism and discrimination. This is what fuelled the conflict and cost so many lives across all parts of our community. It created division, fear and mistrust, which persists to this day. But it would be wrong to think that the impact of being a British colony are all in the past, or that it is only the North that is affected. Our whole island economy is impacted by the imposition of British fiscal policy in the North. The only people qualified to make financial decisions that affect this island are the people from this island, and certainly not bureaucrats in Whitehall. Our island health service needs to be planned and delivered for a population of 7 million. Back-to-back services make no sense on a small island. There is an unprecedented and very welcome public discourse now taking place on the future of our island and what constitutional arrangements will suit us best in the future. Academic institutions, think tanks and the media have all published valuable material which has helped to focus attention on the prospect of Irish unity. And in 2022, the party launched its own grassroots consultation with the citizens of Ireland and beyond. The Commission on the Future of Ireland will soon hold its 10th public event with an Asan Gaelica Channel Gaelica Hanamara. In March this year, the Commission hosted a People's Assembly in Carricarnan, right on the South Armagh-Louth-Down border. I attended the event, and I was amazed that the majority of people that were in that room were not known to me. There is a demand to discuss the future, which is bigger than Sinn Féin. We must create the space to enable everyone, be they Protestant, Catholic, British, Irish, Northern Irish, rural or urban, to participate in this dialogue. This is time for generous persuasion. I commend the Commission on the Future of Ireland. It has stepped in to provide a public discussion space accessible to all, which the Government of Ireland, despite its constitutional obligation, has failed. It must continue its vital work, and I look forward to it facilitating many more conversations with the grassroots citizens of this country. Gora Míle Maith Agah.
Comrades, could I just ask for some cueness, Sahala, because particularly since the back spaces have started to fill up in the tier section, if we could have some quiet for the speakers, that would be great for the end of this section. Thanks.
Keevy McCann, Colin Sinn Féin, Belfast, speaking on motion 96. Akarja, this is a decade of opportunity. In this decade, we have the opportunity to reunify our country and build a fairer Ireland for all. Sinn Féin, leading government on both sides of the border, represents that historic opportunity to right the wrongs of partition that have held back our country politically, socially and economically. I have every faith that it will be our movement that will deliver the change for all the people of Ireland, whether that be the socio-economic change that young people are rightfully calling out for, or the constitutional change that will allow Ireland to take its place among the nations of the earth. Irish unity represents untold opportunity for our country and our people, whether that is restoring the place of the North in Europe, rebalancing our economy away from the vulture funds and corporate landlords in favour of the people, or building that Ireland of equals where all the children of the nation are cherished equally. The change that my generation and others are crying out for on this island is inextricably linked to the reunification of our two parts. Irish unity must too be utilised to finally extinguish the unjust differences that have been carefully fostered by a foreign government to purposefully separate the people here in Ireland. Our new Ireland must be a reunification of people, the traditional communities and those new communities of Protestant, Catholic, Dissenter and others join in friendship and unity, as should be the case. We must be active participants in persuading all of those still not convinced by the cause of Irish unity that this country is theirs and that this country is shared. This country is their home, where they have an important role to play in shaping the future of this new Ireland and in building a nation that each and every one of us can be proud of. That should not only be a policy for us, but a core and contingent part of Republican ideology. We must dedicate ourselves today and every day to building our new Ireland, and it must be at the forefront of our policy and our activism. It is imperative, regardless of whether we are on the ground or working within the institutions, that we think nationally and act locally. So speed the day when our country is free and we can plot our own course, we can govern ourselves and write our own story. This is an exciting time for Ireland, and we all must play our part. Akarja, there is nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come. So onwards to the Republic, onwards to the unity of our people and our country, and fó black the boo, Gar Míle Mágaibh.
Ismisha, Councillor Barney Hart, President of Divine Common Strabane. I would like to speak in favour of motions 96 and 99. British rule in Ireland and the denial of our rights to self-government remains at the core of our divisions and difficulties. The human, economic and social costs of British rule and the disastrous decision to partition Ireland have been immense on border communities like my own in Strabane and Lifford. The last 13 years of Tory government, an era of austerity, has been a disaster. It is self-evident that London will not look after the Irish interests. We need to do that ourselves. We have all been failed by the partition of this island. More and more people are realising this. A vast amount of academic research and new studies and books on all aspects of reunification are being produced. Campaigning groups such as Ireland's Future and Gaels Like Gael are demanding change and highlighting the need for a citizens' assembly on Irish unity to be established in particular. I'd like to commend local Tyrone Gaels such as County Stars Rona McNamee, Conor Myler, Richie Donnelly and the ladies captain Evie McHugh for using their positions of influence to promote the need for change on our island. I'd also like to commend the people of Derry City and Strabane District for coming out in the hundreds to have their say on our recent consultation on Irish unity. I would encourage other council areas to establish working groups and ensure this issue is front and centre moving forward. The feedback from our consultation was clear. We need to work together. We need to respect each other's views. We need to prepare and plan. Our communities may never agree in the past, but we can plan a better future and create a better Ireland together. Go Rami Agad.
The Gwida Harja is Misha James Stokes from the Grabbie Martyrs Common, Kildare County Cantor, and I'm a member of Ógra Sinn Féin running for local election in Newbridge, County Kildare. I'm speaking in favour of motions 96 to 102, but I'm also speaking in favour of a united Ireland. I was born in 2005, 7 years after the signing of the Good Friday Agreement. I've only known the island of Ireland as a place of peace and hope, where the past is only relegated to pages of history books. In fact, just last year I was doing my Leaving Cert, and my history project was related to the 1981 anti-H block election, and I had the privilege of asking Gerry Adams questions about that project at the last Ardèche. However, the talk of United Ireland is evolving from a past struggle to a future vision, one that my generation can help shape. When I envision a United Ireland, I think about the future I want not only for myself, but for my children. I want them to grow up in a United Ireland free from the historically embedded ideas of identity that have defined the struggles of previous generations. While identity remains important, it's essential that we align our aspirations with my generation's focus on progressive politics. We need a functional government capable of addressing the pressing issues of today, such as climate change, housing, enhanced human rights protections, improved workers' rights, education and mental health services. These issues should be at the forefront of any constitutional change. I firmly believe that a new and united Ireland rooted in equality can achieve these ambitious goals. Irish Unity offers us the opportunity for a fresh start, a chance for everyone in this island to address the most critical challenges together with unity of purpose. Aharja, I'm filled with hope that in a united Ireland, my dreams and aspirations for the future, as well as those of my generation, will become a reality. Gorv Mila Matagat.
Ruri Omuraku, Corla Cantor Nalu, Eg Kainch Evolver, Rune Nokasa She, August Narun Ella Evolver Era Endiha. Comrades, I'm fairly sure that we will have support across the board for the motions we're talking about now in relation to Irish unity. I think a significant amount of the Irish people are now with us in relation to a roadmap for national self-determination, and we can definitely do something better than what has existed for over 100 years of partition. If I didn't realise we had an issue in relation to the health service and that we need a working Irish National Health Service, well, yesterday while I was here, I got a phone call for a man in distress whose mother, who was 93, had to wait from 5:20 until 9:05 for an ambulance in almost the centre of Dundalk as she was in abject pain and agony. This is not what we want to see, north or south. If I look at the recent flooding that we've had, whether I'm talking about Downpatrick, Newcastle, Newry, Dundalk or the Cooley Peninsula, I may have issues in relation to how there are gaps in what the southern state has done in its response. But let me tell you, the supports that it is providing are far more significant, as you would expect, than what is provided by a British government that doesn't care, never cared and never will care about Ireland. We need an executive up and running. That goes without saying. But far more fundamental than that, we need an Irish government get serious in relation to a citizens' assembly on Irish unity. And look, we've all heard Leo Varadkar and Micheál Martin say this is not the way. Well then, show us your alternative. Show us how you're going to plan for this. Even if you thought Irish unity was a bad idea, everybody is talking about it. It is a possibility. It would make political sense for politicians to plan. So that is what we require. And if we do not get that from an Irish government, well then it will be provided by a Sinn Féin-led government, and that moment could be coming far sooner than any of them ever wanted to see. But let's be absolutely clear. Sinn Féin will offer something different on an international basis. At this moment in time, the people of Gaza are under absolute slaughter from what is a supremacist Israeli regime. We need the Irish government to be far stronger in calling for a ceasefire. We need to make sure there is a roadmap, not only for peace, but also for self-determination for the Palestinian people. But we also need to make sure that that is done in Ireland. What we need to see is freedom for Palestine, freedom for Ireland. O'Reilly Lekela.
Mícheál McDonagh Ard Carla agus Cathaoirleach Fórum Náisiúnta na Gárlóirí. Bailam taú le rún nócha sé agus na rún go léir ar a Aontaithe. Agus bailam ach go háirithe na Gárlóirí sin a bhulla atá ag obair ar an dá taobh den teorann ina Gárlaí chun clár na hÉireann Aontaithe a chur chun cín. Mícheál McDonagh, National Councillors Forum and Ard Carla. I want to support Rún Nócha Sé and the Irish Unity motions. And I want to mention in particular and thank those councillors of our councillors on both sides of the border who have set up Irish Unity working groups and other structures within and between councils to promote the unity agenda. And I would urge our elected representatives, particularly our councillors throughout the 32 counties, to do the same. I also want to say something about what Republicans of previous generations called the Fon Gafols, the wait a while people. And we have numerous people like that today in the political establishment. You recall back at the time of the tragic conflict, there were many who constantly lectured Republicans that there's a peaceful and democratic way forward. But when we did establish a peace process, and when we were central to the formation of that peace process, and a very difficult process it was to commence, we had those Fon Gafols saying, well, it's too soon to talk to Sinn Féin, it's too soon to lift Section 31, and when the agreement came, it's too soon to release prisoners. And today we have the Taoiseach Micheál Martin, the leader of the Fianna Fáil party, saying it's too soon, not yet, to even establish a citizens' assembly, let alone prepare and hold the Irish Unity referendum. Well, our message to Micheál Martin and his colleagues are clear. Your day is done. You are behind the people of Ireland. We want to talk about a united Ireland. We want to plan a united Ireland. We want to build a united Ireland. So please move aside and let us do that. The previous speaker mentioned Palestine, and in this context it's important to remember that the agony of the Palestinian people began 100 years ago, around the same time with the partition of Ireland, because at that time the British and French empires carved up the Middle East between themselves. It was also at that time that the Balfour Declaration was given to Zionists by the British government, and that so began the nightmare of the land and freedom of the people of Palestine being taken away progressively over decades. In this month, in 1956, the French and British governments colluded with the Israeli government to attack Egypt, to try and seize the Suez Canal. And what's often forgotten at that time was that Israel used the opportunity to seize Gaza, and they carried out massacres in Gaza at that time, which today are actually dwarfed by what's happening to the slaughter that's happening to the Palestinian people. So we share 100 years of imperialism and partition that was carried out in this country and carried out by the British and French empires, and later, of course, with the support of the US government. So the final word today is on the Irish Unity team is for Mr Keir Starmer, the leader of the British Labour Party. You'll recall that Keir Starmer said that if there was an Irish Unity referendum, he'd come over here and campaign for the Union. Well, our message is very clear to Mr Starmer. If indeed you do get into government, if you do come to lead the British government, well, set the wheels in motion, create the opportunity, put in place the unity referendum, come over here and campaign, and we will beat you. We will win that referendum. We will have Irish unity. We will win our republic on Fubloch the Boo.
Good morning, all. It's Misha Mark Rattigan, Barnes McCormick, Cumming Mullingar. I would like to speak on Motion 101, engaging with a wide range of groups on United Ireland. It is essential that not only do we engage with Republicans and Unionists on United Ireland, we also need to engage with ethnic minority groups. As a member of the Irish Traveller community and ethnic minority group, I face discrimination on a daily basis, having to hide my identity for a risk of losing my job. This cannot continue in a fair, equality and a united Ireland. We need to end this. Sorry, 1 second. Even standing here in front of and speaking, I was debating with myself for the last 20 minutes whether I would get up or not, because, look, we all know this is streamed and things like that, and I could actually risk losing my job tomorrow. But the confidence that Sinn Féin has always had for ethnic minority groups, the support to give, the fair and equality that they've always created, give me the courage to even stand here. So, as part of the Citizens' Assembly, I'm calling that we have to engage with LGBTQ+, the Irish Traveller community and all different races and genders. In doing so, this will definitely create, look, it's not a matter of if or when we receive a united Ireland. It's inevitable. And when we engage with all these groups, we can have a fair and equal Ireland. Thank you very much.